The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. As we finally reached our campsite, it was secluded, miles from any marked trail, exactly what we were looking for. A weekend of fishing, laughter, and escaping the city noise. Just me, Chris, and Ben, lifelong friends with a shared love for the wilderness. We set up our tents, the scent of pine needles and damp earth filling our nostrils. Chris, ever the Eagle Scout, had a crackling fire going in minutes. We cracked open a few beers, the familiar banter easing the week's accumulated stress. As darkness enveloped the forest, the fire became our focal point, casting flickering shadows that danced among the trees. We told stories, the kind that get embellished with each retelling, and laughed until our sides ached. But as the moon climbed higher, a silence fell over the woods, broken only by the crackling flames and the occasional hoot of an owl. Then we heard it, a howl, long and mournful, echoing through the trees. It sent shivers down my spine. "What the hell was that?" Ben asked, his voice a little too high. "Probably just a wolf," Chris said, though I could see the unease in his eyes. We listened intently, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. Another howl pierced the silence, closer this time, followed by a chorus of snarls and growls that made my blood run cold. Whatever was out there, it wasn't any wolf I'd ever heard. Suddenly, a pair of eyes flashed in the darkness beyond the firelight. They were yellow, almost luminous, and filled with a chilling intelligence. Then, another pair appeared, and another, until we were surrounded by glowing orbs. Shapes began to emerge from the shadows. Tall, muscular figures, with the heads of dogs, their teeth gleaming in the moonlight. Dogmen. Panic seized us. We scrambled to our feet, knocking over the beer cooler in our haste. Chris yelled, "Get to the truck!" But the truck was parked a good 100 yards away, and the creatures were closing in. They moved with an unnatural speed, their snarls echoing through the trees. One lunged at Ben, its jaws snapping shut inches from his face. He screamed and stumbled backward, tripping over a tree root. Chris grabbed a burning log from the fire and swung it wildly, momentarily driving the creatures back. "We have to make a run for it," I yelled, my voice hoarse with fear. We bolted towards the truck, the dogmen hot on our heels. They were fast, incredibly fast, their growls like thunder in our ears. I could hear their heavy breathing behind me, feel their hot breath on my neck. Chris, who was in the lead, fumbled with his keys, dropping them in the dirt. He cursed and bent down to pick them up, and in that instant, a dogman pounced. It landed on him with a sickening thud, its jaws clamping down on his arm. Chris screamed in agony. Ben and I spun around, our hearts pounding in our chests. We had to do something, but what? I grabbed a rock and hurled it at the creature, but it bounced harmlessly off its thick hide. Ben kicked at its legs, but it was like kicking a tree trunk. The dogman shook Chris like a rag doll, its growls turning into a guttural snarl. Then with a sickening crack, it snapped his neck. Chris's lifeless body fell to the ground. Tears streamed down my face as I watched my friend die. We were no match for these creatures. They were too strong, too ferocious. We had to get out of there. Ben and I turned and ran, the dogmen's howls echoing behind us. We didn't stop running until we reached the highway, our lungs burning, our legs aching. We flagged down a passing truck driver who took us to the nearest town. We told the police what had happened, but they didn't believe us. They said we were drunk, that we had imagined the whole thing, but we knew what we had seen. We knew that the dogmen were real. We never went camping again. The memory of that night haunts me to this day. The howls, the snarls, the glowing eyes, the feeling of utter terror. It's all burned into my brain. I can still see Chris's lifeless body lying on the ground, his blood staining the dirt. I know that some people will never believe our story. They'll say it's just a campfire tale, a legend to scare children. But I know what I saw. I know that the dogmen are real, and I know that they're still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim